What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
Mellow
and Rado. It's a sports podcast where we talk about your favorites, sports debates, sports highlights, and sports matchups. And UFC 272, man, in the books, finished up. It was a wild one. I mean, what a crazy card all over. Mm-hmm. It was insane. I mean, we had a little review episode.
Yes, sir.
Last week, right before the card came up, and we made our predictions. And I mean, honestly, I did all right. I went 2-1. I mean, you went 3-0 in this in the fights that we did. Yeah. And we only did the top three fights in the main card, but that card was incredible all over. I mean, we saw Greg Hardy get beat up by Spizak. You had obviously guys like Holloway go in there and
Kevin Holland.
Kevin Holland.
He won in
balled out.
Yep.
And I mean, even Nurmagomedov's brother, Khabib, he went into the Hall of Fame and his brother won, but we want to talk about the top three fights, right?
Yes, sir. As y'all know, we previewed the top three fights, gave our predictions, and pretty much let's go over the card.
Exactly.
We're talking about Mitchell versus Barbosa, RDA versus Moicano, and Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal, the best friends turn enemies main event, basically, or co-main event, because the RDA versus Moicano stood the 5 rounds, so technically that was also a co-main event.
And we'll definitely have to talk about that one too, because I mean, I don't know if that really deserved a co-main event for sure.
Such a 5 rounds.
Yep, exactly. So we definitely got to talk about that one.
But like you said, a great card. First time in a while, I went 3-0. The last couple cards, I have been taking a little risky picks, and it didn't always go in my favor. So it's good to go 3-0. And honestly, all three fights that we're going to talk about was just straight maulings, pretty much. So it was good to watch as a fight fan. One of them maybe not good to watch as a fight fan, and we'll get into that.
A lot of people like to see knockouts, but I mean, with these different type of style of fighters, like you got strikers versus wrestlers, it's interesting to see the different styles in the UFC. And I mean, this time you didn't get really many knockouts in the main card, obviously, other than Greg Hardy really getting knocked out. But that main card was, fights going all the way through, which you don't get many UFC full cards like that.
Actually, even going back to the prelims, there was a lot of full fights that went the distance on some good top competitors. We even had one of the top women's competitors, 3 versus 4, and that went the distance, and that was a little controversial.
That's right. Jan versus
Rodriguez, was it?
Oh, Rodriguez actually.
Rodriguez. Yeah. So that was a good fight, and like we said, the whole card it was just good fighting all the way through.
For sure. Other than Nurmagomedov, though, he went out there and demolished in the first round, and I mean he's 14-0 so far, I think. So we'll see what happens with his career. He's still moving up the ladder, but he's the cousin of obviously Khabib.
And obviously, shout outs, Khabib just made it into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
First inductee of 2022, well deserved. And we're gonna have to eventually do an episode on his reign, because it was such a short reign, so controversial for him to go out at the top in his prime, basically after 3 title defenses. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's no one else who's been as most dominant. Just that
for sure, especially in a short span. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that for sure.
He took on the best of that division.
I think we definitely gotta do an episode on him, a full episode on his reign, because I mean, going in undefeated, winning out your last fight and going out on top, that's something that not most people don't do. Obviously, there's only a few people have done that, like George St. Pierre maybe. And
exactly,
So we definitely should talk about him, maybe even in the GOAT conversation. I mean.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be in the conversation. Resume of work kind of makes people, be and
a lot of people think his early fights were easy, and then I mean, obviously his title defenses were good enough.
All 3 submissions.
Right.
At the end of the day. So
I mean, a lot of people even say that he never lost the round.
Exactly.
We can go on and on about him for sure.
And we will.
And we definitely will. But let's get into that first fight. I mean, by the way, we're in the new studio, in the new Who You Got studio. If you guys are watching right now, if you guys are listening to the podcast, then, just make sure you guys are always subscribing and downloading. We got new things in the works all the time. And now that we're in the studio together, we're going to be talking a lot more sports and getting into a lot more debates, too, coming up this summer.
Oh, yes.
And now these matchups in the UFC, we got to get into. I mean, that first matchup, pretty crazy. I mean,
it was Edgar versus
Edgar Barbosa
versus Bryce
Mitchell. Yeah.
10 versus 11. We pretty much knew that they were going to be good featherweight contenders.
Yeah.
Like we said, one's a little bit older, a little bit experienced.
True.
Another one's up and coming, young, fresh. I will say he got the best wrestling and grappling division. Hands down, I think Bryce Hyper. Bryce Mitchell, I said.
I mean, he's hitting people on the ground like he's Bryce Harper.
Exactly, and that's the thing. He got the best grappling, best wrestling, and he still found a way to catch Barbosa not only with a right, left, and then another round with a kick.
Right.
So like he actually was able to. His hands are getting a lot better. But that fight was just straight domination. He literally mauled him. The ground and pound was just brutal. Like I said, he still found ways. And this is gonna be the story of the whole night when it comes to these three fights. Wrestlers who found a way to have so much strength with that takedown that it actually opened up them to actually be better at striking.
Yeah.
And that was just the story basically all night when it comes to these three fights. So pretty much Mitchell actually caught him in the first, got on top of him, elbow after elbow. Second, caught him with a kick, went right through the guard, got on top of him, elbow after elbow. Right. At one point, he opened up a bad gash. Pretty much the fight ended up with Mitchell on top. And you know what I'm saying? It was just a straight domination.
Once you open up that gash, that blood was...
no, it was bad. It was definitely bad. I remember watching, I was like, oof, it won't stop. I'm like, he got like 30 seconds left, but it still won't stop. And I'm like, damn, that's bad for him. But he tried to keep the distance, use his kicks, try to throw a little bit. But like I said, Mitchell actually showed that I could stand with you too.
Right.
And it was just
exactly.
Straight. I actually love the fight. I think Mitchell showed great potential. Getting 2 knockdowns like that, especially one coming from a head kick, really showed that he got power. That's what I'm saying. He got power. Nice. Barbosa, I think he's 3-7 now in his last 10.
Yeah. He's 3-6 now, 3-7. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not looking too good for him. But what did you think about that fight, man? I mean, it was a great showing for me.
I definitely agree with your points about Mitchell. I think he might be one of the best wrestlers in the game, and I even had that written down there too. I mean, in the UFC, I think that he's prolific on the ground, and not just like he had 4 takedowns in this fight, and I think that's
strong.
That was huge, especially being able to get away from those kicks. I know that Barbosa, he had like a few right low kicks on the shin.
Because I think that keep that distance.
I mean, Mitchell had ankle guards, not ankle guards, but like ankle wraps, and they were saying that he had like an old ankle injury, and then that's part of the reason why he kept on going at his like lower shin. You know, Barbosa was going at Mitchell's lower shin, but I mean, he was able to get those takedowns and keep the fight on the ground, which was huge for him because. Honestly, I do think that those kicks were starting to get to him in the first round.
It looked like it. The first one was hard. Off jump.
Other than that, like on the ground, he was ridiculous. I mean, Mitchell, he had 182 strikes, significant, but on the ground, 160 of those were on the ground. Ridiculous. He just kept on going at him right, left. Like he was finding little open spots. I mean, Barbosa, the whole time he had 23 strikes, significant strikes. So this was literally a mauling. Like if you look at the striking, like up top.
He couldn't even get nothing going on his feet. That's what I'm saying.
Even then, it wasn't nothing other than the kicks. And but the way that Mitchell was able to get 4 takedowns in this fight definitely showed great potential. You got to give it to him, especially being able to fight against a guy that a lot of people thought that was like a striker, very experienced striker and a guy that can get away from those situations, like out of defensively, he can get out of those ground spots.
He's fought top
this time he couldn't.
Yeah. And there was at one point, I think the first takedown, Mitchell literally just picked him up.
Right. Yeah, he did it like twice in a row. Like he picked him up, dropped him, he stood up. Barbosa stood up, and then he picked him up again and dropped him again.
And that was in the first round. And that was, like I said, first round, he also got caught with a right left. Like, he was in trouble off of it.
Right.
And he just he threw a couple leg kicks. I was all right. You see what's the strategy? He's going to try to, range that distance, try to land a big shot. But Mitchell just walked through everything and just pretty much ran right through him.
Yeah.
And that was, I'll be honest, I really love that showing from Mitchell, man. He is now, 5-0?
Yeah, he is. And I think it's a good showing, too. But I think that he needs to fight a little bit better competition. I know Barbosa is, he's good on his feet. But this type of fight, I think he needs to fight another wrestler to see what he's really got. Yeah. And then we could really see what he's got. I mean, a lot of people knew that Barbosa was, like, inconsistent. He's an inconsistent fighter. Sure. very
36,
inconsistent.
9, yeah.
And obviously, this fight you couldn't see much of him. Only 23 strikes. Most of the fight was on the ground, anyways. Anytime it got, they were both up. Mitchell was trying to get that takedown, so you couldn't really see much from Barbosa. So you don't really know how good Mitchell's potential is.
Yeah.
But I do think that you're seeing good signs from him, though. But what do you think is next for him? I mean, there's a lot of things that they could do with him. I mean, he's got a strong resume.
Yeah, and obviously we spent the recap talking about these quick starts,
Exactly.
winning streaks, pretty much going 5-0. He's now clearly landed himself in the top 10. But the problem with that, and like I said, he's a great athlete, great on the ground. Obviously, I think he has one of the best wrestling skills in that division. But now the problem was that you got to start facing top 10 contenders.
Right.
And everyone in the top 10, besides the top, so basically the top 5 have a couple losses on their records, but those guys have been in that division for years, have been fighting the top people in that division for years. 5 through 10, basically right above Mitchell, where he's about to be now.
Right.
Most of them only got 2-3 losses. So you pretty much got a lot of fighters that are basically top of the game. And like I said, 5-0 in the UFC is good, but it don't necessarily mean you're a title contender. Like, come on, we just talked about how he let this guy go 5-0. Now he's about to start facing top 10 contenders. And Sean O'Malley has been winning for a while, and he's still 11th and 12th.
That's
you know? So now Mitchell has no choice but to start facing those top-notch people, and now we're going to question, can he do what he's supposed to do? Some of those people are pretty much Josh Emmett. I think he got 2 losses on his record.
That's what I was
Arnold Allen only got 1 loss on his record. Giga C, and I only bring those 3 up. More than likely, one of those 3 are going to.
That's going to be the next fight. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think Gigazi would be a good matchup, actually.
That's another, yes.
Because he definitely likes to bring the fight on the ground too, and he's a good ground fighter as well. Like he likes to bring it on the ground and get you in like spots where you're not comfortable, like along the fence, and he likes to move your legs, make sure your legs are below the hips, so you're not able to like get out of it. I do think that Mitchell does show potential, like you said. I think he's gonna move up in the top 10. I think he'll probably be like a 9, probably be like 9th overall. For me, I think if he fights somebody in like 6'5", I think Gagazi is like 5th, right? I think that's what he is.
No, I think he's gonna have to fight someone like 6, 7, 8, or 8. Okay. Because he's not gonna get to move above anyone above 9th with only 5-0. Because like I said, most of them got 10, 15, and 2 and 3. Like 2 or 3 losses. You're not gonna move above them with the 5-0. You know what I'm saying? So he's gonna have to fight one of those people at like 6, 7, or 8 before he can even touch top 5.
Yeah, you're probably right. So I think
that's a stacked division. A lot of people don't realize that.
I mean, the top of the division for sure.
The top of the division are all the old guys, right?
Yeah, but they're still
hanging around for the last 10, 15 years.
They've been around.
But right under them, 5 through 8 is them new. Like that's what I'm saying. That division, they ain't slouching.
Volkovski's about to have that fight next up, but I mean, other than that, other than that, like you got Qatar, who's still like up there. Ortega's nice, but I do think somebody like Chikaze would be perfect. Giga, he's
not gonna get that if
he's 6.
Giga might be a good one. Yeah.
I think that Emmett would be another one that they could put him up there because he's got
trying to put him against Allen. Allen only got 1 loss in his record.
That's a good.
And 5-0 against what is he?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm talking about
Allen. Allen is 8-0, man. 8-0 in the UFC.
In the overall losses?
Overall, he's 17-1. So.
Exactly. So they only got 1 loss in the MMA record.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great 8-0 versus 5-0 right there.
That could be a good one. I do agree. Yeah, that could be a good one. But I do think he's going to move at least like past Barbosa up in the top 10 ranking. Barbosa was 11th.
He's going to be 9.
Yeah, he's got to be
10 versus 11, so I think he's going to move up to 9.
Exactly. Yeah. He'll have to, yeah.
I mean, I don't think, let's say 6, 7, 8. He's not moving past them with 5-0.
And you're right. That is a stacked division. That's the division you definitely got to look at. And a lot of people
don't know these names,
and they don't look at the featherweight that much because there's no knockouts.
They don't like the top 3, and those top 3 like to sit there and brawl.
Yeah.
These young guys, they got wrestling. They got
technical.
Grappling.
Yeah, it's very technical, very skilled. A lot of grappling. That's true. Like I noticed. Even in that fight, Mitchell was definitely trying to get a few. Like he was going for the rear naked choke one time. He went for the triangle. Couldn't get the triangle because Barbosa got up from it. But it's definitely a technical weight class. But I mean, speaking of technical fighters, going into the next one, Rafael Dos Anjos versus Moicano. I mean, you thought Moicano was a technical fighter, but it's tough,
he
man.
is.
This is a co-main event we're talking about. If you want to present it there real quick.
Yeah, I would say, RDA versus Moicano. RDA was supposed to fight Physique.
Yeah.
Got pulled out because of some health issues.
Supposed to be the two Rafaels.
Exactly.
Rafael versus Rafael.
Yeah, I was excited for that.
Yeah.
A couple people threw their hats in the name to try to get in there.
Exactly.
But basically, your boy Moicano stepped in on 5 days' notice. First thing I said right off jump, I don't know if he has a conditioning to withstand this. Now, obviously, RDA is a former champion. Exactly.
He's a champion.
So and then now he had a full camp. So my things like his condition is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be crazy.
Even though he was fighting for another fighter. Even he said that at the post game conference. He was
scared about that.
He was like, "This is gonna be tough for me." Yeah, because it's a totally different fighter.
He actually revealed that he only didn't take the fight because he understands that Moicano is dangerous.
Exactly. He was looking for a fighter like Apaziev and honestly Makhachev too, who's more that ground and pound he can go with. But
and it's crazy because I expected RDA to be more technical, be a little bit more sharper, be a little more faster, more conditioning. I didn't expect him to put the whooping. I did not expect him to put that whooping that he did. And now, mind you, I didn't pick anyone by knockout, but at this point, I promise you that fight should have been ended in that third. And we'll get a little bit into that.
That's something we can talk about. There was a 5-round fight. I mean, and coming in 5 days, pretty much. They made it. Yeah, a 5-round fight. That's unheard of, honestly. Like a lot of people were saying that during the commentary and also like on Twitter. If you were looking on, this is unheard of in the UFC where you're gonna have a guy coming in literally 1 week before the fight.
Fight 25 minutes.
And it's not a championship matchup.
It means nothing.
It's not like
Punch weight at 160 because
there's no interim championship going for it. So I mean, it's a co-main event. I get it, but
they could have easily dropped it to 3.
You should have. They should have. That's what the UFC should have done. If they wanted to, they could have brought that Bryce Mitchell fight up to that co-main event. If they didn't want to, I mean,
something.
Honestly,
and that's the thing. They should have stopped it at 3 because RDA came off the rip, was hitting the faster, sharper combos, just killing him.
Right.
Just basically hit Joe. So I ain't gonna lie. The sharpness with them shots, and I don't mean the shots as in like fists. I mean when he was shooting, for his takedowns.
Takedowns, yeah.
The way they can't.
Reminded me of Ray Lewis.
That's what I'm saying. It was just straight sharp. Hit, duck. And so every time Moicano threw something or thought he was gonna get close, next thing you know, the legs are gone. And then from there, he just was now. I ain't gonna lie. Moicano did a great job of actually not letting him do a lot of damage in the beginning, the first 2 rounds.
Right.
He dominated all 5 rounds.
Yeah.
The first 2 rounds, he really wasn't taking that much damage. He was still trying to just transition, make sure he couldn't get a good position whether it was trying to get out of half, trying to get out of full. He was just basically just keep moving. But he was still losing, still getting hit here and there. Right. But it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Right.
Third round, he just basically got caught. And at one point, someone was like, "Oh, why did he? If RDA didn't take it to the ground, he probably could have finished him. He didn't take it to the ground. Moicano got dropped. Like he turned around and basically RDA started falling. Yeah. So RDA jumped on top of his back, beat him with elbow after elbow after elbow.
Right there, you pretty much thought it was done.
So once he got caught, because he didn't get caught once. He got caught like with a 3-4 piece combo that he was already backing
up. And that kid got wobbling though.
Exactly, he was already wobbling. Then he got dropped, and at that point, he just elbow after elbow, head bounce on the mat, I got tore up. At that point, I'm like, all right, he's going to stop it. Ref's going to stop it. All right. Come on, ref. Are you going to stop it? It was like 30 seconds left. And I'm like, okay, ref, are you going to stop it? Like, what's going on?
It's over. That's what I was saying. I was like, yo, this fight is over.
Even the announcers and the commentators are like, okay, like his eyes are rolling the back of his head. Like, it's over. Like, it's any second now. And he just never stopped it. The round ended. Corner came back. I was like, okay, well, the corner is definitely about to throw in the flag. They didn't want to hear nothing of it. All right, here's what you got to do. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. The man barely opened his fucking left eye.
Man, he was like, the first time in the 4th round, he was like, let me see your eye. Let me check it real quick. Gave him the little eye test, which I don't know what kind of eye test that was.
So that was...
I mean, his other eye was working perfect. I'll give him that. His other eye
I'll give it to you. The 4th round, you did see his eye, mind you. The man probably was looking like this.
Bro, I mean,
but
my man had a bumblebee like sting his eye, like 100 bumblebees.
He had a walnut on top
sting
of his eye.
Yeah.
Easily. And you seen him, and he was all right. The doctor said, "I'm let it go." The ref said, "Okay." The ref was even worried as well.
Yeah.
After that, fourth round still got mauled, literally mauled, and then the doctor came back in the fifth round, and that was wild. Cause what did the doctor say after that?
He was like, "Let me see your eye." He went over to my man, opened up his eye.
Let me see your eye.
And he opened it up, like,
move it.
And that's something I've never seen in the UFC either. To have a doctor open up the eye and ask him to move it and do a check like that. Like,
but if your hand ain't there, my man couldn't see. That's
interesting.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to talk about that. But, I mean, as far as, like, the third round, I want to get back to that real quick because that was an interesting round for me because I thought that – I kind of agree with you. I thought that they should have stopped the fight for a second. For a second, when he was wobbling and he definitely got to the ground and there was, like, 3 elbow punches, you thought right there that's when they usually stop fights. But there was like one point where he started moving, he started turning his body, and he went for a few punches, and he wasn't crawling like in a crawl position. Like that's when they usually stop fights. When they see him in a crawl position, then they're not gonna call it if you're like actually moving your hands. If you go like this, then you're done. Refs most likely they're gonna call it. So that's one thing that I give him a lot of credit, for staying in there and still moving around, knowing that he's getting punched up. And that was exactly when he got his eye bloodied up, is that elbow. Those elbows coming down on him, and that's when it started, the gushing of the blood. Oh my God, it was nasty from then on. And even that fourth round, I mean, you could see him. He was trying to get a few punches, and he did, like the first 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I mean, you could see Moicano. He was definitely getting a few punches on him. But I mean, like you said, the doctor, he let it go. And then the fifth round, I kind of think that Dos Anjos was kind of letting it off a little bit easier.
Oh, the fourth round, he was coasting.
I think the fourth round, I think they were both fighting like a little tough. But that fifth, I think, is when Dos Anjos, he let it go a little bit. He didn't go like 100% because he didn't want to hurt him. This was more like, even they were saying, they were like, it looks like he's like sparring with him. It's like he's not throwing 100%. But then, like, Moicano, he showed a little bit. He definitely showed a little bit in that fifth round.
That was actually his best round.
Yeah, he definitely showed a little bit. And that's, when the doctors were, like, looking at him before the fifth round, and they were saying,
and even with his eye open, the ref was like, you got 30 seconds to show me something that you could turn this around. And I'll be honest, he didn't do anything at 30 seconds.
I was going to say, too, yeah.
He didn't do nothing.
I saw one punch. That's
one punch. And in my head, I'm like, all right, ref, are you? Right, after the third, I promise you, even as an MMA fan, it was actually, like, not good to watch.
For me, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, he's not getting hit, so you can let it go on.
Well, not even, because in the fourth round, RDA was back on top, literally slicing them elbows right back into.
I'm just saying, as far as the fifth round, for the ref, as far as the fifth round, he was saying, like,
he's not getting something. Yes.
I was like, he's not getting hit in the fifth round, so all right, let it go. You can let him go.
So then
I was thinking, if he gets taken down in that fifth round, they were going to stop it right away. That's what I was
saying. And he actually had his best round in the fifth round. Actually caught RDA a few times. So I actually was I was okay. Like, I get it, you got hurt, like, you got to worry, but in my head, I'm like, how much damage is that?
I mean, that's 100%. And why don't we just get into that? Because I mean, this fight you actually had correct, and you had it in decision, right?
Yeah, I had all 3 fights in decision. Yeah, and everyone won by decision.
This is the one fight that I had wrong, and I thought it was gonna end up in a knockout. Actually, I actually had this in a submission for Moicano, and honestly, I thought he was gonna come up a lot stronger, especially in those first few rounds. I didn't think he was gonna let off when he was on the ground that much. I mean, I get it, you don't got a full camp, and that's one thing that I wanted to like kind of talk about, was his conditioning. I mean,
it was bad.
Like, that was bad. That was bad to watch.
He got washed first round and he was done.
Yeah, like the first round was decent showing, and like we said, the fifth round he showed a little bit of heart.
That's the autopilot, though.
A lot of heart. You got to get, and a lot of adrenaline for sure. Definitely adrenaline is like rushing to your body, but you're not feeling the pain. I definitely think you got to give him credit for the heart he showed and the toughness for not getting knocked out. But I mean, as far as that, do you think that they should have stopped the fight? They should have stopped it in the fourth round or the fifth round or even that third round when he was on the ground, like getting hit. Is there any point that you think they should have stopped it?
So it's funny because like. So I get it, as the announcers are usually MMA fighters themselves,
right?
And I get that they have their thoughts, but like they were so for the fight being stopped in the 3rd round. Everyone's okay. He's done. When it didn't go,
seriously, right?
And then they came back in the 4th round. I was all right. Well, his eyes open. Okay, then it was all right. Well, the doctor said his eyes open. Okay, all right. The doctor's good. I respect the doctor. He made a good decision. As long as and I'm like, no, like that shouldn't. Like,
nah.
In my head, how you switch up that quick?
Yeah.
He literally just got his face beat in. His whole eye is swollen up. Yes, he could see it, but at this point, he just lost 3 rounds. Like, what is oh no, the doctor said he's good. Then literally, I'm okay. The fact that the 4th round he actually opened his eye and actually did the eye test without help from the doctor, I was like, I really don't like this. I don't think that the ref was concerned. He was right to be.
Yeah.
2, the corner was never gonna pull that white flag, and that's trash of them. I understand you're training a warrior, but like. That's like that. The eye could be long, like term damage, because especially in that 4th round, RDA really kept catching that side of that face again.
Yes, he was. Yeah. That's when it opened up and started getting bigger. Really bigger.
And I don't want to say have no remorse, but like you can't pull back because at the end of the day, pulling back almost got him caught in the 5th round.
Right. That's
because
what he
if
did.
He really wanted to, he could have picked him up, slammed him again, and stood the whole 5th round riding him out.
And that's why I don't think he wanted to do that.
He didn't want to do that. And then he exchanged with him and almost got caught a couple. He did get caught a couple times. He could have got knocked out.
Yeah. I mean, you saw like the last few minutes of the round. That's when he started picking it up. Those signers, he was like, all right, wait a minute, all right, exactly. let me not like.
And the fighter shouldn't have to do that.
Not at all.
He shouldn't have to be in a position where he don't want to continue to be putting more harm on someone. The fact that the ref allowed to go through, the corner allowed to go through, and the doctor
about the ref though.
It's a shame for me.
For the ref though, I feel like he didn't want to stop he didn't want it to be on him to stop the fight. That's why he brought the doctor in twice.
It's the fact that the doctor said yeah, and that's why the ref is okay. But in my head, I don't think the doctor's right.
I don't think so. That's my thing too. And I think in the 5th round, that was like very clear. It's like the doctor went up, he opened up his eye, he was like, "Can you see?" But the ref was like, the doctor was like, "Well, look, he can still see out of the one eye." And he was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, if you're sure, we're gonna keep this fight going on." He's like, "Are you sure?" Because I don't think the ref was the one that won. He didn't want to be the one that called the fight. He wanted to be up to the decision either of their camp, of
I feel like Herb being with
Moicano's camp, or I think Herb maybe, but yeah, I mean Herb he was on the main card, so he wasn't there. But I think that this ref he wants to keep his name on.
Oh no, he didn't want to. Once he put the doctor into the doctor said, yeah, that's why he's all right. Listen, I'll give you 30 seconds. If you go out there and get beaten in the next 30 seconds, you're done.
Yeah, but one thing I will say, I am glad that they didn't stop it in the 5th round because I was happy to see that 5th round. Like I'm glad that he gave him that 30 seconds and he actually, let him show something. I know that I think I agree with you where I think they should have stopped it in the beginning of that 4th round. When they were looking at his eye, it was still bleeding. Like when he was coming off his corner, they had the Vaseline on it and it was still bleeding. Like as they were looking at him, they did the test through the Vaseline.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, yeah, it's probably time. But honestly, another thing about this is like, do you think that this should have been a co-main event at all? Like,
not at all. Even if you had to force it to a co-main event, just decide not to call it a co-main event. Just make one main event and drop this down to another 3 rounds.
That's the one thing I don't see why every UFC has to have 2 main events. Like, it didn't used to be like this. Like, it used to be only one main event. That's why it's called the main event.
If something falls through, because that's the thing. Even RDA versus Fiziev wasn't even a co-main event. Truthfully,
I get it. They're trying to get Fiziev's name up there, but it's not on the name status like somebody else like Volkanovski or
literally give them their own fight night.
Yeah,
that's why they have those.
That's why they had Makhachev on fight night. Exactly. I mean, his name wasn't up there yet, but I mean. Honestly, you got to give it up to Dos Anjos. He won it. He won a night. Prolific performance, definitely on the ground, amazing. And what's next for him? I mean, he's up there in age, but as far as UFC years, but he's still got a lot of tank left.
He has one more shot left. At the end of the day, though, that only barely moved him into top 7.
Yeah.
And those are some top
the
names.
The top names are crazy. Yes. Up there.
Ridiculous.
For sure.
I don't know if he has another 5-6 fights in him.
And they said that for this fight, didn't he drop down in weight? They said he dropped down like 10 pounds or something like that.
He's been dropping. Yeah,
he's been dropping. Yeah, he's been dropping because he was like in a.
Yeah, he was in a higher
weight class.
And Moicano was in a lower division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, that's one thing they were talking about. They were like, he looks a little bit skinnier than he usually does.
Yeah.
So.
But he's trying to get one last push.
Yeah, I mean the top guys though, they're definitely like.
And he's gonna have to go through at least 2 or 3 of them. And I think at least 3.
Yeah.
Like he's barely in the top 10. He's gonna have to go through at least 3 of them.
It'd be a great story though to see him go through it and come back and be champion. A repeat champion.
Glover win the light heavyweight at old age, so it's possible. But
to have a repeat, that'd be different. But as far as Moicano, I could still see him, doing some things. He's still 16-5-1. Still got,
It's crazy it is because I hate how it sometimes happen like this. His stock actually rose.
Yeah, even with a loss, right? Like even with a loss,
he had heart. But my whole worry is that damage that he just took and how that eye's gonna look.
I agree, but I think that he's gonna have like a 6-month, relaxed time now. I mean, he just had 2 fights in literally a month, like back-to-back UFC events. He was on 271 against, I think it was Hernandez. Yeah, that's who he beat, and then just now, I mean, 2 back-to-back. That's crazy, but I think he's gonna be like on a 6-month hiatus.
Especially with the injuries, he got beat up.
He got beat up for sure, especially one side. I mean, like literally, like you put one of those like half and half, like
it's a whole other person.
Literally different person. Looked like he got beat up. But I mean, speaking of getting beat up, this next fight, the main event of the evening, folks. That's what we're here to talk about. Is Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Best friends turn enemies. But this one is crazy. This one is definitely a crazy matchup. A lot of people didn't have this one as like a main event. It wasn't that exciting to them. But honestly, it turned out pretty exciting. The first 3 rounds was very exciting to me. As far as the rest of the matchup we could talk about, what do you think about it, though?
I was bored the whole fight.
Really? Yeah.
So here's the thing. I wasn't bored because as a MMA fan, I'm not one of those because today the comment section of all the posts was all he did was wrestle, all he did blah blah. Yeah. And I hate people like that because then they like that's why MMA is not boxing. If you want to see people stand there and get punched, they don't go to boxing.
That's true.
When I say I was bored, is because this fight turned out to be exactly what I knew it was gonna be.
Right. That's why there was nothing that surprising about it. I agree
Colby
about that.
Covington completely out wrestled, out grappled, and outstruck Jorge Masvidal. And here's the thing, I knew that was going to happen anyways because like I said, the story of the night is being so prolific at wrestling that you have to be respected with your takedowns to where it opens up and allows you to be more offensive on your hands.
Right.
Colby Covington outstruck Jorge Masvidal the whole fight. And it sucked. The only thing is crazy because I'm like, of course, in this type of fight, best friend turns enemy, both of them are a piece of crap. I really don't like both of them. Obviously, I want Masvidal to win because I don't think Colby more because he's just like, all right, just his talking is just annoying and cringe.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
And it's like, who's writing this for you, bro? Because it's literally you think you're in a comic book right now. You just like, he's
and
just
it's and it's cringe. It really is. Like you said, it's like it's not like him. It's really not
that's
him.
The thing. Like, we all know it's not him, and that's why we don't understand why he keeps doing it. So I wanted Jorge to win, but I knew 100% that Masvidal was gonna lose. Like I knew Colby Covington was gonna
man. Honestly, I wanted to see a knockout for Masvidal, but even I picked this fight, for Covington. I thought it was gonna be honestly a knockout in the 3rd round because I thought exactly what was gonna happen. Like I thought the fight was gonna go to the ground. There's gonna be a lot of like strikes on the ground, but at one point I thought that Colby was gonna get through the defense of Masvidal and be able to like knock him out, on the ground, and that didn't happen, which is surprising. But I mean, through this fight, you saw every time, like that's one thing about UFC 272 that those 3 fights, the top 3 fights, remind you of each other. It was like literally striking versus wrestling. Every time a guy tried to stand up and fight, the other guy would try to get you down, and that happened every time. Every time you try to get back up, they try to put you down. I remember. In the 2nd round, Colby Covington, he had him on his back. He had Masvidal's back, brought him down. Masvidal came up, and the same thing happened. He brought him down again, and that happened 3 times. He brought him up again and brought him down. And at that point, Masvidal was like, "Damn, I'm tired. I'm just gonna sit here on the ground. Like, why should I keep getting up? Just to get getting put back down." So he was like, "Let me just finish the round up here on the ground in the 2nd round," which was interesting to see that because like you would think that he would have a little bit more skill getting out of that clinch from the back, but it's tough. It's tough, especially.
I don't think so.
prolific wrestlers is tough. But
Masvidal's not even.
He's not.
He's
not an average wrestler.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not an average
wrestler. So here's my thing. Like, so from the first round, Colby took him down. Basically rode him the whole round, applying pressure. And then when they got back to the second round, Jorge already looked gassed. And from there on, Colby still, not only while applying consistent, constant pressure, like his gas tank is second to none. And like that's the thing, no one has been able to withstand Colby Covington's pressure, stamina, and constant barrage of just in your face until he ran into Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, man.
That's what you gotta realize. Like that's why I say I hate the man. But at the end of the day, he's like the second best.
On the ground, you got to give it to him. On the ground,
that's why, like, and this was him in his element. Like, he didn't do that against Kamaru because he know better. But this is
he knows Kamaru would be able to get out of like a lot of those things. And
that's why like a lot of people don't like they didn't throw a lot of wrestling into neither one of those two fights because they knew they. So here's the thing.
He tried in that second fight. I know he tried. He had to, but I mean,
and that's the thing.
He
didn't
do enough.
Kamaru
surprisingly,
didn't really care about wrestling because he's been testing his hands. He wants to knock everyone. You know what I'm saying? He's at the point where he knows he could, demolish on the floor. So Colby obviously has that.
That's what I mean. Like, he didn't want to get in there with Usman on the ground because he knows that Usman.
He knows better.
He can get out of a lot of those like little techniques where you try to like grapple the legs, you try to get in half guard, you try to get side control. Usman is the type that he knows better to get in those situations, and he'll just make sure that he's on your back or he gets full control.
Yeah, and he actually took Colby down a couple times
in their fight. He did, actually, yeah. He did it very similar to the way that Colby did to Masvidal, actually. Like,
and that's the thing, they're both great wrestlers, but Colby couldn't use any of those skills. So watching him use against Jorge, I'll say one thing. Jorge he saw how I was flat on my foot. He was actually, this is the best wrestler I've seen. And when I say best wrestling, I mean best wrestling defense because he knew that he was going to come all night. Yeah. And he actually stuffed a lot of Colby's shots.
Didn't get knocked out on the ground, and didn't get submitted.
And he didn't allow Colby to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Up until basically the fourth and fifth round where he just had no more left in him. And he even caught Colby once or twice.
That's sad.
Dropped him like literally like split second and couldn't even pursue him. Sort of like the Diaz versus Edwards.
Yeah.
Where he just rocked him and then didn't even have enough energy to keep doing anything after that. But besides that, one more hit, it was literally a complete domination by Colby, man.
It pretty much was, but I agree with you. I think that Masvidal, like he had a few chances in the early rounds, but by the third and fourth round, and even at fifth, you could see it. He was just
I think after the first takedown, he stood on top of him the whole round. Masvidal literally had nothing.
I think is that second round is like once he got on top of him, is that time when he just like literally slammed him 3 times in a row, and then Masvidal just decided to sit down that second round. The rest of it, went through, but I think that's what hit him. He was like, I don't want to be on the ground like anymore, and then he was he couldn't do nothing about it. It's like every time he went 4 for 4 in takedowns, Colby Covington. So definitely prolific showing from him, honestly. Yeah. But it's not really a matchup that you wanted to really see from him because he's fighting the number 6 guy. He's supposed to be the number 1 contender.
Yeah, we knew this was going to be.
I mean, a lot of people know Jorge is very inconsistent. That's why he has a record of like 33-15.
Average during.
Or 33-16. I mean, as far as Jorge, what's next for him? That's what I really want to ask because after that, we'll ask what's next for him.
I don't even think that's a question we need to ask. I think the question we need to ask is how does he become the third highest paid UFC fighter?
That's why I wanted to ask that. Exactly.
What does that even mean?
So Jorge just signed the third highest contract in UFC history. And I think it's a 6-fight contract, a 4-fight contract. And it's huge for him because obviously he's a big name, but he's moving down in the rankings. He's moving the opposite way where you would want him to. Like you would think that they would give
3 fights.
You would think they should give this contract to a guy that's moving up. Like
0-3 in the last 3 fights. Granted, his last 3 fights were against the champion, the number 1 contender.
Yeah, I get it, but he hasn't won since 2019,
exactly.
And that's 3 years. Plus, this is going to be another 6 months till he has another fight.
Yeah, and not to mention, he was like he literally like that little fucking flying tattoo is just so cringe. Because like for me, I understand that was a defining moment for him, but for me, if it wasn't for that, he probably would still be fighting on
Kimbo Slice.
Not even that. Undercards, though. You know what I'm saying?
Undercards.
He wouldn't be fighting on no main cards. And then now he's a big pull. He gets pay-per-views. But we talked about Dana and his money fights now. And it's just like, how does he become the third highest paid UFC fighter of all time? That's a little disrespectful for the people who's going to put it work. That's a little disrespectful for the heavyweight champion.
Bro, that's what I was just going to say.
Exactly why he has a problem. He has a problem with.
And I have a problem with that, too.
Literally.
I have a huge problem with that because I think that Ngannou deserves so much money for what he's done to the UFC. I mean, yeah, he's not the biggest talker. He doesn't give you like, the moments that, Conor will give you, even like some of the moments that Nurmagomedov could give you, But I mean, as far as a guy that's like a gentle giant that just comes in there and just knocks people out and tears people up in the ring, I think that a guy like Ngannou deserves his money. A guy like Masvidal, like I said, he's so inconsistent. I know he's a big name. He's a big draw. And he is going to get other fights. A lot of people are talking about a possible Conor versus Masvidal fight at the end of the year, or Nate Diaz coming back. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those are some fights that...
He still got to fight Leon Edwards.
But the thing is, Leon Edwards
tied up for the next shot at a title.
Right.
I'll be honest. Looking at Dana, I don't even know what's going to happen.
I think Usman is supposed to be fighting...
I'm pretty sure he got
Edwards,
his hands,
no?
Yeah. He is, but right now, he got his hand surgery.
Yeah, that's not going to be for another 6. It's probably like UFC 276 or something like that.
Exactly, and that's what I think is going to. I think he might be out for a lot longer, like at least half a year with his hand surgery.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I don't know if Dana's going to let Leon wait without fighting.
So what? Kobe versus Leon? Possibly, if we want to go into that and see what's next for Kobe.
Or Jorge.
Ooh, but
Leon.
I mean,
he still got that. I remember Jorge slapped this nigga like 5 years ago.
That's true.
Still waiting for that. That's another good. Another good
it's
draw.
It's a good draw, especially they got a grudge on there.
Exactly. That's I think Dana's gonna try to push that Jorge
but
fight.
I'm gonna be honest.
Or Leon, I don't think he should. I think Leon deserves the next shot, even if he has to wait 6 months. I think Leon should wait and get his shot next. But I don't think they're gonna let him.
I'm gonna be honest. I think they're gonna give the fight to Conor McGregor. That's what I think is
for Masvidal.
Yeah, I think Masvidal's gonna wait 6 months. I think Conor's coming back at the end of the year, probably around like October, November. It's gonna be like a Oktoberfest like type of, fight. I could definitely see that happening because I don't think that it's gonna happen with Nate Diaz. I think that Edwards should fight
Kobe.
No, I think that Edwards should go for the belt. He should wait. I think
he should
because I think that's what Usman wants too. I think Usman wants to get that revenge because everyone's saying no. Edwards has gotten so much better since the last time he fought Usman.
Because if Edwards loses, then who else is going to fight Usman next?
That's what I mean. Literally. Like, do you really want to see Kobe versus Usman number 3 when Kobe got beat up by Usman twice?
I don't think that could happen.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Kobe then. What's going to happen next?
So I think he has to, and that's the thing. I don't know if he. I think so here's the thing. I don't think this makes sense for Leon, but the only thing that makes sense for Kobe.
It's to fight Usman.
To fight Leon.
Oh, to fight Leon. Okay. Yeah.
You don't get a shot at the champ again.
I don't think he should.
And if you don't fight Leon,
he should too.
Then go ahead and fight Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, I think that's what they might do.
And if you don't want to fight Gilbert Burns, then you keep calling my man Cum Shot. Let that man get his hands on you in that wrestling.
What's my man number 4? My man, the Russian. He's a beast.
Oh, Kazmat?
Yeah, Kazma.
Well, I think he's a little lower than 4.
Is he? I thought he was like 4th or 5th.
I think he's top 10 still. But that's why, remember, he's one of those that's like 4 or 5-0, and Dana already is like, yeah, Dana literally said like he's just nasty, so he could fight whoever he wants type thing. Right. It was like, why did he get 5-0 in the top 10, and your boy Sean is still
on the bottom.
Exactly. Like, he was like, and he literally basically said like, Sean ain't ready for that. But your boy Kazmat is.
Kazmat is ready.
He said he goes in there and mauls people.
That's what he's doing. Yeah.
And so
first round mauling.
He wants his Kobe shot. So I think him and Kobe, 2 wrestlers, are gonna be
that would be a great matchup. That would be a really good matchup.
And if not, I think for me that's the one that makes sense because mind you, his thing. If Kazmat's fighting Burns,
that's what I was gonna say.
Winner of that fight, Kobe. Simple as that.
Yeah, but if he fights Gilbert Burns, I think he beats Gilbert Burns.
Yeah,
similar to the way that he beat Masvidal. I think Gilbert Burns is gonna definitely fight the same style that Masvidal did.
Granted, Gilbert Burns a lot more skill with jiu-jitsu.
A lot more skill on the ground for sure, but I think that he's gonna try to keep it upright more because he knows that Kobe's a lot more prolific on the ground as well. I think a guy like Kazma would be a really good fight now. That would be a really good matchup to me. I mean,
could we get Gilbert versus Kazmat next month.
Exactly.
So whoever wins that basically lines up perfectly for Colby versus whoever wins that.
Yeah. I mean, so that means that Leon Edwards is the one that's stuck there, and he's waiting.
I think he said to wait.
And that's what I agree with you.
I think he said to wait. Colby fights the winner of whoever wins next month. Jorge fights anyone else in the top 10. You know,
even below. I think he's going to take the money fight. I think he's going to take the money fight with Conor. But I think Leon stays and waits. I think he has to try to get that revenge fight with Usman.
Because if he fights someone else, and he might
loses his chance very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who else is Usman going to fight in that division other than maybe if Kazmat moves up or somebody like Faziev, if he moves up in the rankings. I mean, Faziev is nice too. You got to give it to him too.
So obviously we got Leon. If Leon gets a shot next and Usman wins, truthfully, the only way I could see, so if Kazmat beat Burns, he's gonna be in the top 5.
Yeah, he will.
And I think he will have to take on. So here's the thing: I don't think any newcomers get to take on Usman without going through Colby. Kazmat can't get in the top 5 and get a chance.
I agree with you. You gotta give Colby.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. It's still good fights for Colby, you know. And that's still working his case up on getting his 3rd fight. So literally, I think Gilbert versus Burns, whoever wins that gets Colby. If Kazmat wins that, I'll be honest. I'm thinking about it. If Colby beats the winner of that, he might get a 3rd shot.
Wow, you think so? If he beats somebody like Gilbert Burns,
because if Gilbert Burns, because the thing. Unless because
up the rankings right now.
Dana might be tricky with that division because it's clear that Colby Covington is above everyone else except for Usman. But you can't give that man a 3rd fight when he just got beat twice with a champion. So it's hard to how long does he have to wait?
The thing is that we've seen it so recently. That's why nobody wants to see it again.
So I don't think no one wants to see it in the next 2 fights for the champ.
But here's the thing: what if it happens like at the end of the year, like a December fight?
No, this won't happen this year. No, Colby won't get another shot at the belt in 2022. I promise you that.
Wow.
That's too soon. Wow. That's what I'm saying. He's gonna have to Gilbert versus Kazmat.
Yeah.
Whoever wins out of that's gonna have to take Colby on in the summer.
Right.
If Colby wins,
forgot about Bilal Muhammad. That's the only guy.
That's what I'm saying. If Colby wins, Bilal. I think he still have to take on one more person before he gets another shot. So maybe he gets another shot in 1 year from now.
That's true, because Vincent Luke is fighting.
Vincent Luke and Bilal Muhammad are the ones in the top 5. I was saying Kazmat's fighting Burns, and Kazmat's only like 9-10.
I think Vincent is fighting Sean Brady next.
So I'm just saying, like, Colby, and that's the thing. I don't know if they can beat Colby, but Colby's going to have to fight at least 2 people before he can get back in the champ. And then that's why he was trying to call
2 people now.
Yes.
Wow.
The winner of Kazmat versus Burns, and he has to take one more fight after.
Wow.
He has to.
I don't think so.
I think
if he's already.
I don't know. I promise you, Dana's not going to let him get one fight in the summer and then say you get another shot at the
champ. He's already number 1 ranked.
He's been number 1 ranked for 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he's going to need a chance again.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the point. He sat there, lost to Kamaru, did nothing but fight Tyron Woodley for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Got a second chance. That's not going to happen.
Didn't get really much better. But now,
so you're not going to sit there and get we're not going to keep giving you a fight. If the
only reason,
getting better.
Here's the thing: the only reason I agree with you is because I'm not seeing him get any better. Like I don't see him going back into a fight and winning. But I think that like if he stays at number 1 and he's not losing, like at some point, I mean, you're saying 2 fights. I think 1 fight. I think that if he beats the winner of Kazan versus Burns, I think that's the fight.
That's not enough. And you know how I know that's not enough? Because he knows that's not enough. You know why he knows that's not enough? Because that's why he's calling Dustin Poirier in a smaller weight class. Because he can't just. He know that's the quickest way for him to get
a championship.
That's the quickest way for him to get back. Because he can't beat the people in his weight class. He's always gonna have to work through a couple of them.
Yeah.
If he could go fight a couple other big names in other divisions, he could say, "All right,
back, exactly. I got a resume now."
Exactly.
But honestly, the only way he's gonna ever touch a championship, because right now Kamaru Usman's like top pound for pound ranked fighter in UFC. Retired. And honestly,
Colby's gonna have to fight everyone else until then.
Maybe not necessarily. I think he could move up in the weight class and try to go for that Dustin Poirier.
That's down.
Oh, that's
the point. So not only is he calling Izzy out,
he's going featherweight,
and he's not going to get a shot at Izzy right off the jump. He's going to have to take on.
No, that's what I mean. It'll have to be like 2 more fights. That's why I think.
And now he's calling Dustin out. Like I was saying, he knows he can't do nothing else in his weight class, so he has no choice but to try to go.
That's where I agree with you. I think that he can't beat Usman, no matter what he does. but I do think that he's gonna get another chance. I think that he
at
will.
least 2 fights.
If he wins the next fight.
No, if he don't 2, it gotta be 2.
Okay, yeah. So we gotta make a bet on that.
Yes.
One. Okay.
Yes.
We'll make a bet on that one.
I promise you.
Either 1 or 2 fights.
2 fights for Kobe to get another shot at the belt.
I mean, you might be right. Especially if some other guys like Bilal or Sean.
This man
Sean Brady moves up too.
And he's not gonna get to fight Leon toward later on this year. So he's not like Kobe's
gonna
have to
be
fight
like
2
a year,
fights.
year and a
Kobe has
half.
to fight 2 fights.
Okay.
Like Kobe
So you might be right on this one. We'll see though.
And then just sit there and do what he did last time, which is nothing. Dana's not gonna allow him to do that.
We'll have to see. Because I mean,
if
you
you're
never
not
know,
doing
bro.
nothing, you're not showing us that you can give us another fight that's gonna be different than the first 2.
But here's the thing.
He has to actively show us he's getting better.
One thing that Dana loves doing is when guys are injured, he loves throwing out an interim championship. And who's to say he doesn't put an interim championship in there, you know, and have Kobe try to go for it? I could definitely see that happening. I don't know. Dana loves doing that. Dana loves doing that.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
If Kamaru has to take a 6-month hiatus,
I mean, if it's 6 months, I don't think so. But if it's like 8 months to 10 months, like let's say he doesn't fight till right now. We're speaking in March. Let's say he doesn't fight till December or January. I think at the end of the year, like he wins 1 fight, they're gonna add an interim championship.
He already had the surgery, so he probably can fight towards the end of the year.
You're hoping that he does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Leon just sits there and does nothing until then.
Yeah.
But that's a long. But hey, that's the thing. People, he can't do that. Why the fuck not? Kobe did.
No. You're probably right though. On this, I think you're right. I think Leon's gonna wait. I do think that Usman's gonna take that fight, and I think that Kobe probably like maybe one more. If he has a nice showing in the next one, like a crazy knockout, then maybe only one more. But if not, if it's a decision again and it's not a really great showing, then probably 2 more. You're right. But it's definitely a good topic because I mean, he's not the greatest person to talk about, Colby Covington. But he's been sitting there at number 1, like you said, for 3 years. So my favorite in that division, obviously Kamaru Usman. He's not getting beat, like you said, until he retires. So we'll see what happens next in that division. But crazy UFC card,
though. It was a great card.
Definitely a crazy UFC card, and I'm definitely excited with what's up next with the UFC. They got a lot of big things coming up.
73 is got a ridiculous. Like, I'll be honest, I'm gonna have to look again, but we might have to talk about all 5.
Oh, that's one.
I really think that all 5
for sure. That's one that's a nasty one.
Yeah.
And that one is Volkanovski versus a guy that you don't even need to say his name, the Korean Zombie. Sun Yan, he's a fucking monster as well. Like he's the only one in the UFC that has his own nickname in in the cards, which is incredible because he definitely fights like a zombie out there.
Yeah, no, and it's gonna be a great card, great headliner, 2 great co-main events. And obviously, like I said, the other 3 cards are still good as well.
Exactly.
So we're gonna be here for that. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
See us in the first weekend of April.
Yeah, I think that's like April 5th or April 6th, something like that. And we're definitely going to talk about that one. And, of course, we got more sports coming up.
Oh, yes.
We got a lot of NFL things going in the works. Of course, the draft is coming up right now, draft combine. And free agency is going on in the NBA. NBA is just heating up right now. And we're definitely going to talk about that in the future. And, of course, the fights. The fights we're definitely going to talk about. If there's any more boxing matches this year, we're definitely going to get into those.
Oh, yeah.
We're just waiting for those good ones,
Oh, yeah. And we're even going to get into a little bit of March Madness.
Exactly. That's coming up. March Madness coming around the corner. So,
as you can see, we are just getting comfortable.
That's right. So, make sure that you guys keep up with us. Make sure you guys follow us wherever you get your podcasts and listen to us there and download and subscribe. And if you want to watch the full episode, always check us out on YouTube and Facebook. You guys got any questions for us?
Exactly. You know how we do. We love the fan support. We love giving y'all the great content that we love and we know you guys love. We're here for it. We're here for a lot of other projects that we got a lot of ideas coming up with a lot of sports this summer. So we're going to make sure that we're almost a year in, and we're going to keep doing a lot of big things. Man.
That's right, man.
The love.
Almost a year in, and we definitely got more episodes for you guys. So thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Who You Got with
Mello
and Rado. See you guys next time. Peace.